Welcome to a brand new podcast known as The Men We Are. This is episode 1 of the podcast titled Beginnings, and it's just a short introduction to what this podcast is going to be about. And therefore, you can decide, hopefully, by the end of this introduction, is this going to be for you? You can tell if it's going to be honest, and you're going to be able to decide if you're being lectured at or actually this is a level of support that you're looking for. Right now, I'm sitting in a hotel room. It's that gap between Christmas and New Year, that kind of magic time where everyone seems to lose track of time completely. You're just enjoying eating too much, spending time with family and friends. But unfortunately, work has taken me away, so I'm totally missing out on all of that. It had me thinking, obviously, this is one of the struggles, this is one of the realities that a lot of people go through. But in my case, I'm more relating this to the sorts of struggles that men go through. And this is just one of many in terms of providing for one's family, and, like being away from home is just part of that. So this podcast is really going to be for the men who did what they were supposed to do. They worked hard, they provided, they showed up when they could, yet they still feel like something's not quite right or something's missing. So to be clear, who I am certainly not a therapist. I'm not a coach. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So I'm not here to give you therapy, to coach you. I'm not going to fix you or attempt to sell an idea of masculinity that doesn't really fit real life. And equally, what I'm also not here to do is get caught up in a debate with people saying this is man-centric and I'm therefore suggesting that women or anyone else that identifies as something else other than a man doesn't have struggles and doesn't have challenges. You definitely do. I fully understand that. But as a man, I can only relate to the struggles of being a man, and I can only speak to the struggles and challenges I go through that I'm fairly sure that other men go through. So, therefore, if you really, really do get het up about this and it bothers you enough that you're getting angry, if you think this podcast doesn't relate to you, but you feel like it speaks to you in the sense of you have struggles and challenges, perhaps consider making some content which will support your community, sisterhood, clique, whatever collective term makes sense to you. Because the idea of this podcast is just a positive attempt to help other guys, help men, build a bit of a community, support each other, and just say you're not alone. So who I am a long-haul airline pilot, so I spend an inordinate amount of time away from home. In the back end of 2025, I turned 40, so I'm just going through that kind of transition into middle age. I also have 2 young children, and I do try to play rugby. I try to stay fit. I try to go to the gym, but obviously the body is gradually failing. Injuries that used to be healed after 1 or 2 days are now taking up to a week, maybe even more. So I'm really noticing a lot of change in my life at the moment. And obviously the aging process is a big part of that. So what I have to say is the title of this podcast should be quite significant, because for me, words are really powerful. They can have such impact. If you think about like great poets and authors, they write things that stand the test of time. They span generations, gender, race, etc. So for me, of late, I've started to listen to, interact with, learn from lots and lots of really incredible people, especially in the man space. People like Craig White, for instance. Craig White was this strength and conditioning coach from a very, very big rugby league background, but he came to real prominence in rugby union, in strength and conditioning. But actually, he had the most potency in getting into guys' heads and, helping them sort out their mental issues, to the extent that he's completely stepped away from the strength and condition and the rugby circle completely, and now he's doing stuff in the men's space. And I've learned a huge amount from listening to his various podcasts, reading about his stuff, and it's all really positive stuff. So just obviously a shameless plug for him, but if you haven't heard his podcast, it's called Dare to Be Different. It's awesome. It's worth a listen. It's one of these, you feel growth coming through it when you do listen to it. So the words that power, like the potency of words, really relate to this podcast, the men we are. And it should be something that you can identify with, what that phrase actually means, because the men we are is making the suggestion that you're kind of trapped between what your title is and the traditional values and stereotypes that go along with that title, but also what you're actually going through as a man and how expectation doesn't always meet reality. So off the back of that, we will explore together. Obviously, it's not going to be a two-way discussion because, I'm just broadcasting this. But in my mind, the idea is that I come up with a topic that I think has got some avenues for us to explore. I have to really think it through. I have to really consider the topic, and I have to consolidate my thoughts before I broadcast anything. So therefore, for me, it's actually an outlet. I get stuff off my chest. I can release my thoughts. And by doing that, hopefully I can support you guys because, one, I show you you're not alone. If you are thinking about the things that I'm going through as well, then it's proof that you're not on your own. But also, by me sort of consolidating my thoughts and coming up with these things, it should be food for thought for you, like just a few ideas to hopefully help you jump off and, continue your journey. So ideally, what we're looking to do is we're just looking to get to the point where we realize the men we are, we're good enough already. We just want to find a way to eradicate some of that disappointment that I know certainly I feel in my life sometimes. And I want to help some of you to try and eradicate some of that too. So there's a really powerful saying, it takes a village. And the full saying is it takes a village to raise a child. It's from West Africa. And the idea is that your parents aren't the sole providers and sole guardians of your upbringing. It takes the entire village, to an entire support network to get you through childhood into adolescence and then eventually to become an adult. And for me, I think it's really powerful because as men, we don't really reach out for help. We don't seek help from our peers, from other men. We don't really talk about our issues. We don't talk about our problems. But actually, it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes a collective to really get things done. And I mean, a great word will be brotherhood. Like, we're all brothers, we're all in it together. We're all going through some stuff, some of it shitty, some of it really good. But, if we can sympathize with each other, if we can always say, you are not alone, then hopefully with that support, we can all develop together. So although this is a very short introduction, we haven't got into any nitty gritty. I hope that if anything here has piqued your interest, if you think there's going to be some good stuff for you, you'll check back in. I truly hope if it hits, you'll stick around and hopefully you'll check in for the next episode. Until then, enjoy the rest of the week.